Hello, I'm Jeanette Mundy, and I'm an ontological leadership coach about to be on the online prosperity show where we're talking about all things ontological coaching and how you can live your best life, be your unique self, and reach your potential.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a truly inspiring guest who's transformed countless lives with her unique approach to leadership and personal development. Now, Jeanette, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Prosper. How are you doing today?
I am overly excited. I can't wait. You see, I was telling you behind the scenes, I learned a new word in terms of the work that you do. So you can only imagine when you learn new things, it's always an exciting moment. Now, for those that are watching right now, you might be wondering what we're talking about. I actually learned that Jeanette is an ontological leadership coach. I wanted to say that before I get my brain twisted into a pretzel right there. Now, for those that are meeting Jeanette for the very first time, she's the principal leadership coach at Butterfly Effect Leadership. And Jeanette is on a mission to light up the world by helping individuals discover their inner spark and unlock their true potential. So from managing a school swim, a swim school, to becoming an ontological relationship coach. Now, Jeanette's journey is a testament to the power of following your passion and making a meaningful impact. So buckle up as we dive into this fascinating story and uncover the hidden lessons to actually explore how she helps others create lives that truly light them up. Now, Jeanette, I mean, obviously, we've been talking before, but tell us a little bit about your journey from starting a swim school or managing a swim school to what it is that you're doing now.
Well, wow, what a journey it's been. I was in the swimming industry for what I would say, well, my whole life actually. As a child, it was very important that we as children in our family excelled. And so there was swimming in the background. My mother and father all got us into swimming, and my three elder sisters were competitive swimmers. I, on the other hand, played basketball like my younger sister. But we were always surrounded by water. We were always surrounded by water, either at the swim school or at the beach. And so I grew up, around teaching children to swim. And then from there, I left school early and just became a swimming teacher and really loved what I did. And so I wanted to take that to the next level. I always had this sort of thing that I could get the best out of myself and I could get the best out of these children. I think that was innate. I think that was an innate thing that probably came from my father, actually, that people have this potential, and it's kind of untapped. Well, I put that just naturally into swimming. And so, thousands and thousands of children that I taught to alleviate their fear, to build their confidence, and to have a love of water. But I wanted to just jump back for a second, because there was this moment in time when I was a swim teacher at around about the age of 16. I was a young swim teacher, and these two little boys came to the swim school, Prosper, and they were really, really had been abused. And they came from an area in Melbourne that was low socioeconomic. And I discovered that one of them had brain damage and the other one was just panicked at the sight of blood. And there was all this trauma sitting in the background. And it was that moment in time that changed me. I'd never seen anything like this before. I didn't even know that there was this kind of abuse happening in families. I had no idea. And so somehow, with that sitting in the background constantly, I was starting to then look at the world in a different way and going, whoa, I'm now seeing something I've never seen before. And I started to connect all these dots about how socially we are impacted by when one person is abusive, and where does that start from, and how does this person become abusive in the first place, and then what's the effect on the children, what happens to the other partner. And so it just started to see the world quite differently. And so all this time in the swim school, it was my mission to support people, families, mothers, fathers, and children. And I didn't even know this. Do you know that? I didn't even know that this is what I was doing. But it was actually this sort of connection piece about how can we connect better? How can we be, loving each other differently? How can I, through this swim school, show human beings that sitting behind fear is this real concern? So, for example, with children, there's this real concern that they're going to drown in the water. And so there's a fear. And their parents, can often experience shame and guilt and all this sort of these emotions around that. And they then are not the best people that they can be for their child when that fear is sitting there and they're not able to support the children to overcome the fear. So I was a catalyst for that. And I did that for 27 years. And I ended up owning a swim school, building it up to a very successful swim school before selling it, moving on, and moving into the learning and development area in organizations. It fell in there because that was my background. I had been a swimming teacher, I had been a swimming school manager, and I'd been a person who had trained a bunch of teachers to be really good teachers, not just average teachers that could get in and teach, but actually teachers who cared and could connect the dots between what they were helping the child with in the water and what they were supporting the parents around. And so that I just always had that. And then I fell into that in organizations, this learning and development where I was, engaging and supporting units of people come together and be more successful with their learning and development programs, and even supporting their learners to be better learners. So all the time I had this kind of, people have this potential sitting in the background. But something was kind of missing for me in all of that. And that was the work that I wanted to do personally with people. And I didn't feel like I was getting that in an organizational sense. And so I bravely just stepped out and went, you know what? No more. I'm going to do something about this. So then I became a counselor. And then when I became a counselor, as much as I felt like it was a worthwhile career move, I didn't feel like it was me. It just wasn't me. I didn't want to fix brokenness. What I wanted to do was enhance people's ability to be their best selves, because when they're their best selves, then they're the best selves for other people. So all the time I'm seeing this prosper. I'm seeing this kind of beautiful ability to relate to yourself better, relate to yourself as a whole and complete human being who isn't broken. And then by doing so, you can relate to others in the same way. And then relationships are enhanced. From that moment, everything changes. It's like magic.
Absolutely. Because I mean, I think it's the air hostesses that have the usual statement that you want to put your mask on first in order to be helpful to other people. Because if you are doing well, feeling well, and adjusted, you actually give your best to whoever you are involved with. So that's remarkable right there. Now, Jeanette, you mentioned that you were exposed to obviously how other families were sort of leaving, or the kind of life that they were exposing their young ones to at a tender age of 16. What was your family life like, since you guys were all sort of doing the same thing, all in and around a water body of some sort?
Mm. I feel like it had two sides to it. I felt like there's this polarity, like there was one side which was quite functional. Everybody, people had jobs, that mum and dad had jobs, they went off to their jobs. We went to school, we were provided for. We didn't have a lot of money, but mum was always the one that sort of managed the income and made sure that we were provided for and made sure that we had our sports all paid for, and we went to sport. Everything just like seemed like it was picture perfect for us. And I think if somebody was looking from the outside, they might have seen that. But actually, inside, there was a little bit more dysfunction than that. Unfortunately, there was alcoholism, there was emotional and psychological abuse, and there was fear. I actually lived with fear myself. I felt like sometimes I couldn't even walk into the room where we were all watching TV for fear that I was going to be, ostracized or yelled at or for something. It just, I remember at the tender age of 7 being told that I was stupid, and then several times in the years after that, even into my early adulthood, still being told that. And so, there was a lot to sort of overcome. But see, I didn't actually see that as abuse. I had seen these two little boys and thought, oh, that's what abuse looks like. That's what it looked like.
Mm.
But I didn't see that this of what I'd experienced all my life until I was about 35, and I was having a conversation with one of my sisters, and she said, this is abuse. We've been abused. And I
Wow.
just sat back in my seat and went, whoa, whoa, what is that even? And so it was this whole kind of new awakening. And I knew that I was angry, and I knew that I was um, feeling like I wasn't loved, and which wasn't true, by the way. I was very loved, but I felt like I wasn't loved. And all of that was going on with me, but I didn't realize that the root of that was this real dysfunction that was going on in the family, and that actually there was something fundamentally going on with those two people, my mother and father, that meant that we were impacted. All
Mm.
of us girls, 5 girls, were impacted enormously. And it took me then a long time to really unravel what that looked like, what it actually was, what it looked like for me, what it felt like for me, what my perception of it was, and then starting to sort of heal myself through that journey, and then eventually being able to forgive. And so, that was a long time. So I feel like it's really crucial for us to kind of, as human beings, recognize the environment that we're in, and recognize, yeah, what's going on, not only for us, but those people around us.
You're absolutely right, because fish do not see the water that they swim in, and neither can we see the air that we breathe. It's only when you're extrapolated from that particular environment that you can look back and say, wait a minute, that wasn't okay, or that wasn't all right. So with this sort of setup, you did say you've got 4 other siblings, right? Would this have been the feeling all across the board, or other people were just obviously not seeing it as that, and maybe they're still on with their own paths without having come to that realization?
Yeah, I think there was this sweeping a lot of things under the carpet was kind of going on. My eldest sister was into drugs, and she ended up being schizophrenic, and she's still schizophrenic, and is in her late 60s now. So she was very damaged by it. I think, that's the path that she chose, drugs. She chose drugs, but I understand what was underneath that choice. And for her, there was no going back. But for the rest of us, there was an element of, okay, we can salvage something out of this. We can heal. And so we've all kind of taken our healing paths, our own kind of way through it. My way was to understand humanity, understand how humans behave and what's sitting under that behavior, so that I could not only, I actually didn't know, I have to say, I didn't know when I first started my ontological coaching, I didn't know that I was going to be going on my own healing journey there. I thought I was going to be supporting others. But then I spent the next 2 years kind of peeling back all those ugly layers. And, there were times where I found myself rocking in the corner, just curled up in a fetal position, crying my eyes out, or coming away from a conference having just uncovered stuff and crying all the way home, and having to be really well supported by my mentors, which I was, thankfully. And then so that was that 2 years, but I didn't realize there was still more to go. And so it has been, I have to tell you, it's been a process of unfolding.
Mm. And obviously, with the way that you were supported, like you say, how important is it to have other humans that you can trust? And in times like this, because so many people might be going through like what you're saying and not quite realizing there might be a way out or not reaching out to other people. Could you maybe explain the factor that an outside mentor or coach would actually assist in this sort of process?
Yeah. So if somebody is having extreme trauma, they really need to go and see a health professional, because sometimes it's outside of a coach's sphere as to what they can do for a person if there's something else that's sitting underneath that. So I always say that, preface it with that, go and see a health professional. But if there is a what we would consider a functioning human being that doesn't have an underlying mental health issue, but they're still experiencing stuff for themselves, then a coach can be that guide. A coach can be that person that can shine a light onto them so that they can, find a way forward through the kind of the fog and the haze. A coach is, it's not, we're not counselors, we're not therapists, and that's what I must make that distinction. So if anybody's listening and they really need to go and have therapy, they should go and have therapy, but there's no reason why coaching can't go side by side with therapy even, because what we do with our coachees is that we're providing a way that our coachees can reach their intentions, fulfill their purpose in life, actually make their way forward and have a happy, satisfying life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I quite appreciate that because, so many people don't quite see it by themselves unless, somebody reaches out and actually helps them. But you also worked with some influential mentors and coaches along your journey. First of all, how did sort of having people like that help you move forward? And what sort of lessons did you learn from them?
Mm, I did. I've had some wonderful mentors in my time. Um, so what did I learn from them? How did they help me? Gosh, they helped me immensely. How? I guess the thing that we do with ontological coaching, which a lot of coaches do from different modalities, but this is a little bit in a different way, we actually work at a deeper level of awareness for people. So what that means is that we are getting under the hood of what's going on for a person. So we're kind of saying, right, well, what is you have got this particular way of languaging things in your life. You're using language to create your own reality. We're going to help them to get under the hood of that. We're going to help them to sort of unpack the emotions that are sitting there for them, the emotions and the moods and the feelings, and how they might be embodying that. So for me, unpacking that was absolutely crucial. Being able to go, oh, I actually understand the interrelationship between how I'm languaging things, how I'm experiencing things emotionally and in my moods, states of mind that was creating these states of mind in me, and how I'm actually embodying that. I can go, oh, I get underneath that now, and I get to see that I'm holding resentment here. I get to see that I'm not being very forgiving, not only to other people, but to myself. I'm not compassionate with myself, so I'm very hard on myself. So those kinds of things I had to kind of unravel so I can get to the point where I can live with myself, where I can come onto a show like this and feel confident, for example, and not feel like I'm going to be putting something out there to the world and I'm worried about how I'm going to show up. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I've let down my guard. I'm not putting on a particular persona that isn't me. And I think I've gone through much of my life doing that, trying to constantly prove myself, trying to constantly, show people that I'm enough.
That's
So this is the unraveling, is that you get to that point where you know yourself, that you really know who you are, and then you're enough. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
you
You're
see,
already valuable just by being born. Yeah.
absolutely. You did introduce us to the 7-year-old that felt inadequate and couldn't even walk into a room where you were supposed to really feel safe amongst your own. You know what I mean? And there's always that fear of maybe I'm not enough, or maybe I'm not looking the way that I'm supposed to, or I'm not chewing the way that I'm supposed to, which just makes people feel inadequate. But you're literally giving people that self-empowerment and confidence that you're talking about, because that's not easy to come by if all your life you've been thwarted, like an insect.
Yeah. Oh, look, I even felt abandoned. I felt like I wasn't loved. And so I came home one day. I remember came home after dark when I was 7. And how bizarre that I would come home after dark when I was 7. I'd been out wandering the streets for much of
Just
the day, just just wandering around.
what were you trying to avoid being at home, or
Um, maybe I was trying to avoid being at home. Um, yeah, I think I felt a bit lost and lonely. And so when I finally did get home, I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to be in big trouble for this. Whew, there's going to be trouble. No one said a word. Not one person in the house said a word. So I didn't feel in trouble. I wasn't in trouble, but I actually felt like nobody loved me. Like you would be in trouble for that, wouldn't you? As a
absolutely.
7-year-old, you'd come home, people would be worrying about you, all those kinds of things. Now, what I made that mean is that they didn't love me. I made that mean that they didn't care about me, and that I was kind of not important in their life. But what I discovered much later on was that they were going through their own struggles. There was so much there for them. And I don't even know what was going on for them both on that day, but I know that there was pain and hurt sitting underneath every action that they took or didn't take. So discovering that was like a revelation. I could then start going, well, do I still want to carry this? That I'm not loved, or I'm not enough, or somebody doesn't care for me? Because that can translate just in subtle ways right into your life in different ways. If somebody cancels on you one day, oh, they don't care for me. If somebody says, no, mum, we don't want to come around or whatever, oh, they don't care for me. See, it translates in different ways where you actually don't even know. And then you're going on in a conversation about how that relationship is for you. But if you can just pull yourself back and go, hang on a sec, I'm feeling this way because at my core, I just didn't feel loved. It
But
absolutely changes everything.
it takes taking an inward journey, because maybe some people like you, I'm going to say this with utmost love and respect, like your sister would have maybe felt the same and took to drugs as a way of consoling herself, or whoever was offering those drugs offered that sort of love that they might have been yearning for, and that could have been the sort of consequence you're talking about, that it stems into other aspects of your life.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that that's why she did what she did. And then took off after that when she was about, I think, about 19, just took off, and we didn't see her for years. She was up in the Sunshine Coast hinterland doing all kinds of drugs, and then we found out later that she was schizophrenic. So yeah, that's exactly what happened. She didn't feel loved. She felt abandoned. She felt like she was never enough.
Mm. You see, some of the reasons why people would maybe obviously go into those sort of modalities or ways to self-soothe, like you say, it's maybe because they feel like they are either inadequate or they haven't quite embraced their own uniqueness and their own being. And I noticed that while you're coaching people, you actually emphasize the importance of understanding oneself so that you can understand, like it takes a lot for you to then notice, okay, it might not be me or on my part, it might just be what they're going through, and I'm okay the way I am, which obviously creates that sort of uniqueness and self-empowerment that people now have. How do you help your clients identify and embrace their own uniqueness? Because so many people just want to be like everybody else and be treated as normal.
Yeah, people do want to be like everybody else. We always pick some kind of persona or some kind of image in the, of how we would like ourselves to fit into. We've got to try and fit in to the world in a particular way. So we're looking at the world and people in it, and we're going, huh, yeah, that fits. That fits for me. And so we try and make ourselves to fit into a particular persona or be like a particular type of person or whatever. And it actually just doesn't work because there's always this incongruence between what I say will happen if we're trying to do that, is that our self-image can never match what that persona is because it's not us. So our self
Mm.
is always going to be impacted when we're trying to be like someone else. So what my role is to support people to develop a healthy self-image of themselves, and in that process get as close to the person that they were meant to be as they possibly can. So stop putting on that persona. Stop thinking that you have to be. And I think we're in a dangerous world where a lot of people have got, personas that they're following. But we want to come because underneath all that can often be a poor self-image. So what we want to do is heal those aspects of ourselves that are sitting underneath, that are telling ourselves that we're not enough, or we're not, you know, loved, or we're not, we're not. There's so many not enoughs. So that is impacting on our self-image, but it results in us putting on some kind of persona that actually isn't us. Like as you sit there, Prosper, you look at the persona you've got, you're completely 100% being you, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody else will be able to show up in this. Yeah.
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think anybody else would be able to show up as you, and
Mm.
nobody else would be able to show up as me. And you don't want them to. So I don't want my clients to think that they have to try and be like me or somebody else. I want them to get as close to themselves as they are. Now, that aside from all of that, what I will often find is that people don't value themselves innately. They don't see that just because they've been put on this earth means that they're valuable, that they have some kind of legacy to leave.
Mm.
It's there. It's there. They just don't see it.
You see, from what you're saying, I mean, when we started, you were expressing how you've had such a quiet weekend just by yourself, but you later opened up that you are a wife, you're a grandmother, you're a mom, you're also a coach, and you are also maybe a friend to other people. You're an aunt to your siblings, kids, and things of that nature. So to many people you are different things, and I feel like so many people don't embrace that because they now just go for the one fixed personality. Oh my God, Kim Kardashian wears her hair like this, so this is going to be who I am. Sort of out there, and I think you've got an approach that helps people see themselves as a whole and complete, rather than just focusing on one aspect that they feel inadequate in. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit? Because so many people really get caught up in, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, or I'm this, and forget the rest of who they're supposed to be, in when they show up.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, that you hit the nail on the head in that there are so many aspects of who we are. A wife, a husband, a mother, a daughter, we're all of that, right? A friend and everything. And but we're still unique. We're not, so those are all kind of roles, and and who we who we care for is there, and we're going to be that. Oh God, I'm finding this hard to get out, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that we are only who we are to each of those individual people in our life from the place of who we are uniquely. We are not who we are to those. I can't be who I am to my siblings, to my children, to my nieces and nephews from trying to be like my sister. And yet she's still got the same important role, but she just leaves a different legacy. In fact, my children call one of my sisters Fun Auntie Sandy. Right. So she's got this kind of vivacious, outgoing, fun, and that's how she approaches life. I'm actually a little more serious about life. You might not notice that as in talking to me.
I would.
See, but see, what I offer people is a different conversation than what she offers them. Right. And that's important. So if we could only just embrace the person that we are through the lens that we see the world, and that comes to us through our history. So all of those experiences that I have had right up until this point are so important to who I'm being for all those people around me. So if we can just go, okay, these experiences mean something, actually so important. Every one of them that we have in our life, in our toolkit, it's like, right, we can now in conversation with other people, we can be everything that we are uniquely, plus bring our history into that, our experience. How cool is that? That you
Amazing.
have a unique conversation with people just because of who you are historically.
Yeah, because what your life story and your experience is what then creates and weaves that tapestry of who you are and what you can talk about, because you can't reference things that you haven't been. And I think that's why you emphasize on the being aspect, being before anything else. Some people just want to do, but are you being that which you're meant to be? That's a very unique place to sort of start from. Now, you literally are giving people back to themselves, because what this all is everybody has fragments of, like you say, their past or whatever they have been, and you're literally putting it all together, just like a barista would put coffee, sugar, water into a cup and delivers a coffee.
I really like that analogy. We've got a place in town here in Mackay which
Yeah.
makes such good coffees, and it's the only place I've found that makes really great coffee with just the amount of froth, with just the right strength. It's not too bitter. It's not, so it is a good analogy. It's like it's that coffee is whole and complete in my opinion as far as coffees go. So I like that it's putting people back to make them as whole and complete as possible.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, with that sort of way and reframe, what's been the most rewarding part of your journey so far? Because you would have watched people step into themselves and start living or having a happier existence, because, you know, there must be some life-changing moments.
And the most rewarding overall is seeing them go off and doing it and going, okay, see you later, have a great life. It's so empowering to be able to say that, to be able to go, okay, off you go, have a great life. And I might meet you along the track sometime again.
It's like
Let's
watching
see.
a kid swim the
Yeah.
whole length for the very first time.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Watching a kid swim the whole length for the very first time. Watching that, yeah. Watching a child go into the world and make something of themselves. Just do what they really love and care about.
Absolutely. And what would be the best way that people can experience this for themselves? Where would they go on the internet, or how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can find me on social media or they can find me on my website, butterflyeffectleadership.com. Yeah, just find me there. Find me and reach out. That's the best way. Link with me on Instagram or LinkedIn are my two most favorite
That's where we
platforms.
met.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. Now, Jeanette, I mean, obviously, going through this with you, indulge me here for a little bit. It kind of feels like what you take people through. All right. How long are you with them usually in this coaching?
Good question. Oh, it really varies. I've had time, like I can be with somebody for a year or 2 years, and then they're off and but they want to come to me for a whole different lot of things in their life, or I can be with someone for 6 months,
Okay.
12 months.
Yeah.
See, I'm not the one that dictates that,
Because
but I'm in partnership with them to make sure that the time that we spend together is the amount of time that's required for them. And I don't do that on my own. I do that in partnership with my clients. Yeah.
absolutely. Now, getting back to that part that I wanted you to indulge me a little bit, because I think because your philosophy includes creating a life of abundance and self-expression, which gives people the tools to really show up in the best version of they can possibly be in life. We have something like that in my culture. It's akin to like an initiation or some sort of rite of passage where the leaders call you in and then proverbially tap you on the shoulder and give you the permission that it's your turn to lead now. So you now step into who you're supposed to be. You now actually show up and you can go out and be the best father, the best community member, and the best, representative of maybe your clan or whatever it is that you're doing at that particular moment. And that sort of serves as a pattern break, that a lot of people need. Whereas in the world we live in right now, people just grow up, from kindergarten, high school, get married, get a job, get kids without somebody showing up and saying, hey, this is how you need to be. Would you
Mm.
say maybe what you're doing is that proverbial rite of passage, like you say, between 6 months, 12 months, that people really need to go through? And from there, you can watch them swim or walk or whatever it is that they can do in self expression.
Gosh, wow, what a great way of expressing that back to me, by the way. Because that's what it feels like, because people are lost. They're lost. You're right. I like that rite of passage kind of, tap you on the shoulder and saying, hey, you can go out and do that now. You can have this self-expression. That's exactly what it is.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, I did tell you I was going to be taking notes, didn't I? So,
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
well, as
Well
we
done.
wrap up, obviously I've had fun, talking to you and just really learning all that you do. Um, you've got a passion for the AFL, and you've got that silly mama dance. So when you said you're a serious type person, I was just looking and thinking, do I have the wrong notes for the wrong person on the call today? Can you maybe share with us a memorable and amusing moment that actually relates to those interests of yours?
Oh, look, what can I do have moments. I do have lots of silly moments. But generally, I'm not as outgoing as what people think that I am. I really love that quiet and solitude. But okay, what's a silly moment? Um, I don't know, Prosper. I can't even think of one. I suppose just screaming at the television. That's the one thing is me jumping up and down at the television when my team kicks a goal and just going, yes, yes, yes. And I'm in the air like that. And I'm up and down, and my grandkids are going, oh, nanny. And my husband's going, oh, will you just shut up? You know,
And what team do you
everybody,
barrack for?
I barrack for the Brisbane Lions.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, now, Jeanette, we've discovered, where you've been, what it is that you're working on, but what's next? What can we expect? You've had a career change from swimming, and pools and water bodies to helping others discover their own essence. What's next? What can we anticipate from you?
You can anticipate. I partner with an organization called Ingenesis, so I'm a platform partner on Ingenesis. You can anticipate a community that's coming that I will be having on Ingenesis specifically for women, and it will be there. And also there'll be a program, a self-leadership program. I don't know what the title of it's going to be. I've run leadership programs for women before in the past, but this is like a culmination of the things that I've learned in the last 5 to 6 years. So it's a bit more polish. And so I can't wait for that to come. And also just more articles around being. Yeah.
I
That's it.
like that. I like that. And I can't thank you enough for the time that we've spent on the call today. I mean, your insights and your experience are truly inspiring. And I'm sure our viewers have gained a lot of valuable knowledge from what you've got to say, because from your philosophy, knowing that every human being or every human life is transformable, no matter what the circumstances are. So many people relegate themselves to a life of misery, not knowing they can change. So I can't wait to see what people will actually do and make use of this content that we've created today.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. And yeah, and for those that are watching, if you want to dive deeper into Jeanette's work and discover how she can actually help your organization, be sure to check out the Settle to Spark workshops for women. Those are still running, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. And I will put all the links in the show notes below, and also the links to the social media platforms that she spoke of, especially the LinkedIn one. That one is the one that I know firsthand. And thank you so much for taking us on this opportunity to share with our audience and, your audience too on how to be, do, and have a happier existence. Now, for those that have watched this episode up until right about this time, I want you to type in the word that was giving me a big, big, big problem when we started. I want you to type in the word ontological in the comments below. And me and Jeanette will see what sort of surprise we can give to the people that have watched up until this. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to either rewatch this or share it with somebody who's going through stuff that might actually need the services of Jeanette Mundy there. And subscribe while you're at it if you think the content that we're creating is of use to you. Until next time, keep shining and stay prosperous. Bye for now.